Good morning, afternoon, evening, folks. Sorry for that little bit of static there in the middle of that intro. I'm going to hop over here right to this. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but going to save you the stress of having that static showing up in the stream. Welcome everybody to our fourth episode of our monthly Twitch series called Chocolatey Explain. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chocolatey. First of all, we are the Windows automation experts. I'm Adil Leghari. I'm a senior solutions engineer and your host for this stream. For those of us joining us for the first time, Chocolatey Explained is a Twitch series that we born out of another Twitch series that we did called 12 Days of Chocolatey. And we wanted to give our community a chance to have like a deep dive into specific Chocolatey features and functionality, as well as ask us questions and interact with us as well. So for today's stream, I would like to introduce my good friend and colleague, Ryan Richter. So Ryan's up on the stream here. So this is going to be an Ask Ryan stream. Ryan, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everybody.
So I've Ryan graciously agreed to have me include a little bit of an Easter egg logo and an icon of him on the bottom there. But Ryan is our support engineer. He is the linchpin of support. So a lot of the folks that use Chocolatey for Business, the person you will talk to first and foremost is Ryan. So we're very lucky to have him pulled away from the support queue today and on the stream with us. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go through the agenda a little bit and cover it so you know what you're getting yourself into. We always try and keep the slides to a minimum, as you know. A couple of things that we commonly see for folks coming into the chat. Into the support queue, which is why we have the Ask Ryan stream today, is sort of covering these bases is what we're trying to do to make sure that you have a good experience when you're trying out the product, when you're trying out Chocolatey for Business. So some of the common questions that we get for folks coming in are some things we'd like to tackle with Ryan today, just so you have a little bit of an easier time or you have somewhere to reference. And again, of course, if you're tuning into the Twitch stream live, please feel free to join in. Even on YouTube as well, and ask questions if you'd like, and we'll try and collect those in the end for Q&A as well. So let's go through the agenda just a little bit. One of the things we commonly get talked about or asked about first is licensing Chocolatey, of course. How do you get that license that you've been emailed and drop it in, installing in your license file and the Chocolatey licensed extension, etc. And then also, we want to cover a way to be able to have that, turn that into a Chocolatey package. Now that's built into our quick deployment environment, the QDE. But in addition to that, we also want to give you a way to be able to do that if you're not using QDE. If you're setting up from scratch in a Chocolatey for Business environment that you're creating, we want to give you a way to be able to do that as well with a similar script, just to be able to turn your license into a Chocolatey package as well. So you have it nice and easy and available even when you're doing license upgrades, which is a specific challenge for certain folks. And then, of course, we're going to go into a little bit of QDE initial setup. Ryan's going to show off QDE a little bit and how you set it up from scratch. Ryan's actually, I think you've got a VM spun up in Azure. Am I correct, Ryan?
Yes.
Awesome. So we'll go through the initial setup with Ryan there, and then Ryan is going to also tackle some of the Jenkins piece. So Jenkins is another thing we get questions about a lot. Now, Jenkins is just an automation platform like anything else, just a CI/CD pipeline tool, if you will. So we'll talk about how we use it in the quick deployment environment, how you can use it as well to auto-internalize packages, and how you can go about updating those job templates. And there's certain fields and parameters that you need to update when you're using Jenkins to auto-internalize packages. And so Ryan's going to cover that, updating your next API key or your package list parameters. And then we'll open it up, of course, to Q&A. We have other things that we can tackle as well on the stream, but we're kind of focusing on this stuff for today. So without further ado, I am going to stop sharing here. And before I do, though, I do want to throw up a slide for Ryan. Ryan, this is one of Ryan's favorite slides. So he loves this movie, and he just wants to me to make sure I include this message in here where life is good, but it can be better with Chocolatey. So there you go, Ryan. I told you I'd do it. Now over to you.
Awesome, thanks.
I'll let you share your screen now.
Let's see. All righty. So as Adil mentioned, I've got just a brand new VM of QDE set up in Azure that I'm already keyed into. And we'll go through and kind of start where everybody starts, and that is getting your license.
So this is commonly a question we get, Ryan, right? Like right in the beginning, it's included in the email, but it's an important distinction to make that like one is how do I drop my license into this and how do I get it up and going, right? So you're just doing this. This would be the same if you didn't have QDE and you're dropping in your license, right? Am I correct?
Absolutely. This is if you have just a Chocolatey for business, whether you're using QDE or not, you're just looking to take advantage of that business functionality of Chocolatey and license Chocolatey on a client.
Awesome. So like from starting from scratch, once I got the email, I got this attachment, I downloaded it. Cool.
Correct.
Go for it.
So I'll go ahead and grab my license file here and copy it out. I'll go into my C program data Chocolatey folder. Looks like I already have a license folder in here. So I will go in here, paste this. By default, when we do send out our licenses, we send them out as text files. That way it's easy for people to get them through email. However, we want them, they're ultimately XML files. So we need to go in and rename them.
And that's an important point to make, right, Ryan? Is that you've added a 1 into there, but normally there won't be a 1 in there. So that spelling
Correct.
of that file name needs to be just correct, and the extension for .txt needs to be taken off.
Correct. So at the end, you want a chocolatey.license.xml file. It'll prompt me to change it to an XML file, and we're all good.
Awesome. So technically, I am licensed right now, right? That's all you really need to do to license? Oh,
Yes.
wait, there is the extension too.
Yes. So actually, if I go into a PowerShell prompt and just run Choco right now, we'll see that it does show up that I do have a business trial license now.
I see. So this is specifically with QDE because we already have the licensed extension installed, the chocolatey.extension package. Am I correct?
Correct. We can check that actually by doing a Choco list.
You have an extra C.
I do. Never said I could spell correctly. So. We'll do a Choco list local only to see what packages I have installed already on my machine.
Very cool. So this is the -LO is the local only. Cool. And so now you're listing out all the packages you have installed locally, and chocolatey.extension where you're pointing to there is already pre-installed. So that's our licensed extension that opens up those licensed features like package builder and internalizer, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. Good to hear. And in QDE, it's already there, so we don't need to worry about that piece.
Absolutely.
Right
So
on.
at this point, I'm all set up. I have Chocolatey for Business running on my machine, and we can start kind of plugging through QDE setup now.
Oh, fun times. So the old desktop README?
Yep. Conveniently, we ship with a README right on the desktop to help you go through setup. Kind of reference a few bits in here. Obviously, I've gone ahead and expanded our disk out for the VM that we've been provided. I've gone ahead and added our license file. I'm not going to go ahead and change our host name. I'm fine with it just being the default Choco server. And at this point, we can go through and run the initial set QDE environment script that's provided for you.
So just to highlight those first couple of steps that you went through quickly, Ryan, so people know. So the expand disk size, not always needed, but you can do that. The script is right there for you. Adding your license, you showed off already. Around the changing the VM host name, I know you didn't do it and you don't need to, but if someone did need to change the host name and also to join to a domain, that would need to be done before this setup, correct?
Correct.
Just want to highlight that. Awesome. Okay, so if you're going to join the domain, folks, you're going to change the host name, do those things, do that first before running the initial setup script. Cool.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep. At this point, I'm just going to go through and do a basic installation. However, we do offer the option to run a custom certificate with QDE. For this implementation though, I'm just gonna go ahead and not do that. So I will copy this command out, make sure to run this in an administrative PowerShell prompt. And we'll see this start kicking off and begin to build out our different services.
That's awesome. So this controller script kind of does everything for you, right?
Yes. It goes ahead and builds out your repository solution, your Jenkins CI/CD solution, imports some jobs into that, as well as going through and installing Chocolatey Central Management for deployments.
Awesome. Right on. So this is going to run now for a little bit and kind of set up the initial setup for quick deployment environment in general, like all the different pieces, the Nexus repository, spinning that up and getting your certificates lined up for the self-signed certs. Now, while this is running, if you'd like to, what we could do is cover briefly just how I know a part of this process actually takes your license and turns it into a Chocolatey package, which is one of those things we recommend you do. Do you want to touch on maybe how somebody would do that themselves? Like if they get a new version of a Chocolatey license, how they'd go about creating a Chocolatey package out of it so that they could upgrade it on their host? Yeah, go for it.
Let me go ahead and minimize this and minimize this. So with a QDE install, if we go to our C drive, go to Choco Setup, Files, we provide you a few scripts by default. One of those will be the create license package script. Basically what this script when run will do is it will look at the local system that you're looking to run this script on. It'll reference the license in the license folder on that machine. It will go through, bundle up that license, create a Chocolatey package of it. It will prompt for your Nexus API key, and it will go ahead and push that up to your repository for you, giving you a package at that point named Chocolatey-license for the package name that you can go through and deploy out to all of your end nodes to take care of licensing in one easy, simple Choco upgrade command.
Cool. So this is all bundled and included into that script. I wonder if you could show us the script for a sec, or is it actually being used for running right now, or is it okay to take a look at it?
Should be good to take a look at it.
Right. So this is kind of going to go through. You need to give it some parameters like your Nexus API key, of course. In QDE, that's built in, so you don't need to pass it yourself. It's already a part of the controller script that's being run right now. And in the bottom, if you scroll down just a little bit, we can see we also have the Nexus repository URL. Okay, so this is the default one, the Choco server one. You can see with the 8443 there, that URL is already populated for you on QDE. Now, of course, if users are wanting to run this and they don't have QDE and they want the create license package script, just a quick note, Ryan, so we will be including a link to a version of the script that they can use on their own servers, as long as they have a Nexus repository that they're pushing up to, or a repository URL and an API key. Is that correct?
Correct. That is also part of our organizational deployment guide on our docs page that has this script available as well, that you can go through and edit to tailor your needs to get that package in your repository.
Perfect. So that's right into our docs, so you can take a look at that organizational guide. Excellent. So whether you have QDE or not, you can use this script to create a license package out of your extent. Let's say your upgrade of your license. Even if you're going from a trial to a full version, or if you're going from a trial to a trial extension version of the license, then you can use this process. Correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for highlighting that, because that's a common question that we see. Okay.
No problem. And it looks like our QDE script has gone ahead and run. At the end of that process, it will go ahead and give us an outgrid view of the top 100 packages on the community repository that you can go through and download if you'd like. If you go ahead and select them for the instance of this, we'll go ahead and select just the top Adobe Reader one. I'll go ahead and click OK, and that will run off and in the background and go ahead and auto internalize and upload that package to my Nexus repo that I've gone ahead and set up with that script.
Excellent. So it'll kind of do that auto internalizing initially for you with those 100 top 100 packages. So a good thing to keep in mind, I guess, with that is if it's an out-grid view, so it's a pop-up that you get, but you can control select multiple packages there if you wanted to select multiple, or shift select if you wanted to select a whole chunk of them at the same time.
Correct. Usually I recommend personally, go ahead, it's already there and it's going to be the easiest way to go ahead and internalize a lot of packages. I usually recommend to first setup users to go ahead and just select everything, and then you can kind of go through and tailor lists, or go through and tailor out what you use and what you don't from there, and just delete out from Nexus the different packages that you don't end up using.
Oh, that's an interesting approach. Yeah, fair enough. So you could just kind of select all, and then have an initial 100 packages already in your Nexus repository. Very cool. Assuming you have the drive space for it, of course, which you do generally with Qt. Very cool. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good starter pack, if you will, of
Exactly.
packages. Yeah. Cool.
All right. So we'll go back into our README here.
Do you want to take a look at that script and see if it's been finished? I just want to take. I love watching scripts sometimes. It's like silly to watch progress bars, but I like it. Okay, cool. So it looks like it finished. The bottom here. Oh, excellent. Okay, so that's all done. So all the pieces of Qt have been set up for me now.
Correct.
Great. Okay. Carry on, Ryan. Sorry to keep interrupting you.
Oh, you're all good. All right. So back to our README. We've gone ahead and run our script, and now it'll go ahead and have us log into the different services that we've gone in and set up. I'll go ahead and copy out our initial password, which is conveniently given to you here, and hit our URL to go to our Nexus repository. I'll go ahead and log in with the defaults. Should prompt me to change that.
So this is just the default admin user password that you got from the README. Awesome. That's an important note for our viewers and for the users of Chocolatey for Business. So that stuff is built right into the README. Those default Nexus API keys and admin passwords are built right in. You can change those, and you're recommended to change those when you first log in, including the API key. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yep. At this point, it'll ask me to go ahead and enable or disable anonymous access, because we did not run internet setup. If you do run that script with internet setup, it will go ahead and disable anonymous access by default. We'll just go ahead and hit next. Or actually, we'll have to.
So that internet enabled setup is specifically for when we have your own custom certificates, and sort of you're exposing it to the internet. You have an external IP with a fully qualified domain name, correct?
Correct. It's when you want to have your Nexus repository hosted kind of open on the web so other people can access it outside of your organization for, work from home scenarios or over a VPN connection, those types of things.
The whole remote deployments thing. Yeah. Cool.
Yep. All right, from there I can go in and I can browse and see that Nexus has gone ahead and created 3 repositories default for me. It's created a raw format, so I have a few scripts in here by default that'll help me with deploying out to different client machines. We also have our Chocolatey internal and our Chocolatey test repo. We ship with 2 by default. That way you can, throughout your package moderation process, you can to point your CI/CD tool to go toward a test repo and then run a production repo that's separate.
So you would definitely have 2 repositories, one for test and one for prod, so to speak. And
Correct.
And the general security conscious way that we recommend folks look at it, if you are a security conscious organization, is that you can internalize first to your test repository and test it out. Is that the thinking there?
Yes.
and then promote
Exactly.
the product.
If you want to further build out internal testing, say I build a package, but I want to run it through a testing moderation or a few VMs first, you can throw it into this repository. And then let's say you have a self-service production repo where you have your clients looking through possibly Chocolatey GUI in a self-service scenario. Those are the packages that your users can see. You've vetted them. You know that they're fine to be installed and you shouldn't have any issues.
Very cool.
Absolutely. As you can see, it's gone ahead and populated with everything that we already have installed on our local machine by default. So that's all we need from Nexus. We'll go ahead and log into Jenkins next. Go ahead and grab that password while I'm here.
Cool. So the Nexus repository piece has all been set up, and now we're going to our CI/CD pipeline, if you will.
Correct. Go ahead and prompt me for that initial password to log in here. It also, by default, comes in this file directory in case you do need to look it up for the initial password. It is stored on the local machine in this file as well as the README.
Once you use it in this prompt, then it gets deleted from the disk, right?
Correct.
Awesome.
We'll go ahead and click Install Suggested Plugins.
So when it runs through this process, Ryan, we often see people saying, oh, you know, we saw some red boxes here. This isn't a problem generally, right? There's only a couple of plugins that we need.
Correct.
So we'll just let it run in and do its thing. If you see a little red X up there, folks, it's not a problem for what we're using today, or what you would use when you're internalizing packages, correct?
Absolutely.
I should start a little counter on the top of the screen for every time I say correct, because I'm sure it's climbing up there.
All right, we'll go ahead and continue. This will ask me to go through. We'll just continue as the admin user. You can go ahead and create your first full unique user at this prompt if you'd like to. We usually recommend just continuing as the admin user. At this point, you can go ahead and set up your own URL and give it the host name, a specific host name if you'd like. We'll just go ahead and leave it the default local host on port 8080. And hit
right.
Save and finish.
So the general motivation behind that, changing it if you wanted to, was with Jenkins, we leave it as an HTTP endpoint, right? We're not necessarily adding an SSL cert or anything to it. And I guess the motivation is you really should only be using Jenkins right on the QDE box itself. You shouldn't be connecting to it remotely, correct?
Correct. Exactly. Usually Jenkins is an internally hosted process where it doesn't need to exactly, on most cases, be put behind an SSL layer.
Because you're not, you're generally meant to be only accessing it on the host itself. Yeah, makes sense.
Exactly. It's gone ahead and prompted me. It'll go ahead and restart the Jenkins service because it needs that for some of those plugins to fully install. And at that point, we should be popped out to either a login screen or just our home dashboard.
Cool. So with Jenkins here, right? The setup that comes with QDE, Ryan. So talk me through this a little bit, right? We pre-populate some scripts on there for you, right? That what do we pre-populate and what does that do for you?
Absolutely. Let me go back to our README here for 1 second. See about. We'll just check over our first time setup. Have us log in as browser, install suggested plugins, continue as admin, click finish, click restart, and give this a nice little refresh here. Okay.
There you go.
Now it'll let me log in as the admin user. Paste in that password once more. And here we are at the dashboard for Jenkins. As As Adil alluded to, we come with 3 auto-generated jobs within Jenkins for you to kind of ease the process of going in and grabbing packages from the community repository and bringing those internalized and local into your internal repo. The big thing usually is you have to go in by default and enable all of these jobs. So I'll go ahead and do that now. All right, the first job that comes with this is internalized packages from the community repository. Basically, this job will go ahead and prompt you for a package list of packages you want to internalize from the community repository. Then it's just as easy as clicking go. It'll go ahead and try and download and internalize those packages locally to your machine. And then it will go ahead and trigger the update production repository by default as the next job and go ahead and push those local packages to your Nexus repository, in this case, Chocolatey internal.
Cool. So that's automatically internalizing and then going from and pushing it from test and then from test to prod.
Correct.
Great. So those scripts are already set up for you. Awesome. So you just went in and you enabled those because they're disabled by default, right?
Correct.
Awesome. Great. So we did have one question in the chat, so I did just quickly want to address it with more of a comment by Heavy Hand TZ here. So he mentioned about the SSL part of why not secure it with SSL, and it's better even if it's internal to have it secured. Entirely agree, Heavy Hand. It's really up to what you're doing. In the use case that we have for QEDE, the 2 things that we do automatically for you is we take your SSL certificate that you provide us, either it's your domain cert or your generated cert or purchase cert from a cert provider. We take that cert and we ingest it with the setQD environment initial script, and we pull it into your Nexus Java key store by default, as well as the standard Windows store. So that Windows certificate store and the Java key store, we do that for you, and we connect up the pieces to make sure that central management, your central management piece, and Nexus work with your default SSL cert. What we can't do for you is actually in the Jenkins part, there's some plumbing to do in terms of configuring that SSL for you. So you have entirely the ability to do that yourself if you want to. We just don't do it automatically out of the box, because for the use case that we have here, we generally discourage users from connecting to Jenkins externally. So again, it's not a security limitation per se, because we're not exposing it in that manner, but you can for sure do it. Jenkins supports it. You would just have to configure that yourself as a user. So just wanted to clarify that point there. Go ahead, Ryan.
Absolutely. All right, so at this point, Jenkins is good. We can actually run this first job. We'll go ahead and just make sure it works.
Cool, so the P package list parameter you're putting in there, this is just your list of packages that you're putting in. So this is where I could actually, as a user, just define a list of packages that I want to regularly have my pipeline, my Jenkins pipeline auto internalize.
Absolutely. So I'll go ahead and give it the Google Chrome package name. I'll go ahead and tell it to build. We'll see this job go ahead and start up. We'll actually go ahead and watch it work here. As we can see, it goes out, hits the community repository, goes and internalizes that MSI for Google Chrome, bringing it local in.
So this is where it's actually recompiling it to be internalized. I get it.
Correct. And then we'll see it goes ahead and pushes that to our test repo.
Awesome. So this is our pipeline running.
Correct. And then as you can see, it goes by default, we have it to go ahead and skip through the test process and go ahead and just push straight to our production repo. As you can see, it's going ahead and running this job next as well.
So this is a convenience factor that we leave in there for folks who haven't played with Jenkins that much. For some users who just want to go straight to production repository, they just have the one repository they're worrying about. You definitely have the ability to go to test first, right? You can reconfigure this to go to test first if you wanted to.
Absolutely. Or if you just want to start with test and leave it there, you just start with this third job. It's exactly the same as the first. It just goes ahead and leaves it at test and doesn't trigger that push to production. It has to manually be pushed at that point.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Cool.
We can go ahead and verify that by going into our Nexus repo. We'll give it a little refresh here. We'll look in Google Chrome, and we have the newest version of Google Chrome already on our repository.
Awesome. So that Google Chrome was brought in using the Jenkins internalization process. So that's your auto internalizer at work.
Absolutely.
Cool. And also right at the top, I see you have Adobe Reader up there. So that's the one that got brought on automatically, right? That was the package that you internalized in the beginning using the grid view prompt that we gave you.
Yep. It took a little bit to get there, but it gets there in the end.
Awesome. Yeah, that one is funny because that outgrid view that pops up initially, people always wonder, where did it go or what happened to it? It's actually running a job in the background, right? It's running as a job. So it tends to like take a while and then push up your packages eventually if you give it about 5-10 minutes, correct?
Correct.
Now I got you on the correct bandwagon.
Yep. The last part we can go ahead and set up is log into central management.
Okay, and so this is our wonderful web UI, right? That a lot of folks use to access and programmatically control endpoints via the web API.
Correct. By default, it'll go ahead and ask me to rename the password for the CCM admin on first login. So I'll go ahead and do that. And awesome, we are in.
Awesome. Do you want to make this a little bit bigger than your Chrome if you can, Ryan?
Yeah, let's see if I can do that here.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so this is our dashboard. Excellent. So we have some basic metrics in the front here, and then so yeah, why don't you show off with DCM a little bit for us?
Absolutely. At this base dashboard, we can see how many total packages we have within our environment. We can see how many outdated packages, unique outdated packages, and unique install packages. One big thing I'd like to mention is if you ever need to check out what version of Chocolatey Central Management you are running within your environment, it's just always down here in the bottom left of the CCM interface.
Cool. And so I also see a little managed computer count at the top. What does that mean?
This shows you your exactly what it says, your managed computer count, or how many licensed nodes you have with Chocolatey for Business reporting into central management. If we actually go into the computers view, we can see that by default, it goes ahead and registers our server as the first client.
Awesome. Sort of dog.
We can also, one of the big things often that can go wrong or troubleshooting is when was the last time the agent has checked into central management. You can easily check that by going to your computer's view and looking at last check-in date within here. It is also in the logs for the Chocolatey agent.
So this is a common thing that you have to troubleshoot. I think, Ryan, that you see a lot is folks will be like, oh, my packages aren't updating when I go to my endpoint. It's not showing up as the package is updated in central management, or I haven't seen it in a while, or it hasn't been updated in a while. Then you go in and you ask them to check their last check-in time and see that it's like a day or two out or an hour or two away from now. So it seems like the agent isn't checking in that case.
Correct. Right?
So then we can do some troubleshooting around that to make sure that works. Do you want to click on the actual endpoint and then we can see what packages are installed there?
Yeah.
Cool.
If we
Nice.
drill into an endpoint, we can go ahead and see that by default it shipped with just the VM version of Google Chrome. We can actually go through and update that since we internalized the newest version.
Oh,
But
cool.
otherwise, everything else in here has pretty much gone through and is up to date according to what's, and this is the big distinction, what's available on the sources available to that machine.
The source repositories you have set up on that machine. Yeah. So that's what marks them as outdated. So, okay. So you internalized a new version. You use Jenkins to pull in a new version of Google Chrome. So it's showing us out of date. So you could actually show off for us how to create a deployment and to upgrade that.
Absolutely. Let's go through and create a basic deployment real quick. So we'll go into our deployments tab.
Just a heads up. So Ryan, do you have this in a group already? So you do need a deployment group in order to be able to deploy it to, correct?
Correct. By default, everything goes through groups. We can't specify individual computers. We have to do that within a group. So we'll go ahead and create a group. I'll just go ahead and name this all computers. We only have one, but we'll go ahead and select that host, put it into this group. We can see kind of the warning legend within here. We'll take a quick look at this. Basically, this will shade out our nodes with different indicators, whether we're exceeded on our license count, not opted in for deployments, or if we've exceeded again our license play count and cannot deploy.
Right on. So specifically, if you see that second warning or some of these warnings, obviously, firstly, make sure you have your endpoints being licensed. We do give you scripts to be able to onboard endpoints nice and easily, right? Built right into QDE. But that not opted in for deployments is just a configuration, Choco config flag, right? To make sure your endpoint is opted in. Cool.
I'll go ahead and save this group entry. Let's see, we have that group now. We'll go back into our deployments here. We'll go ahead and create a new deployment. We'll go ahead and give it a name up here. We'll just say update Chrome. Go ahead and add a deployment step. Give that a name as well. We have the option to do a basic deployment. This will allow you to run the basic Choco install, upgrade, and uninstall commands, and then give it a package name or several names if you'd like within this. Usually you would want to do that through different steps and just keep it to one package name by default. It's kind of the best standard whenever doing this. You can also do an advanced deployment where this will just invoke this will give you literally a PowerShell script prompt where you can go ahead and do some scripting within here. And at the bottom, it gives you kind of the best practice things in order to go ahead and look at your exit codes and set an error action preference to stop just in case something would go awry in your script.
Right. So with the basic steps, I can just Choco install, upgrade, uninstall the standard Choco command. With the advanced mode, then it's basically any ad hoc PowerShell that I want to write in there for that individual step, right? And just being mindful of exit codes, which is what the tooltips at the bottom are showing you.
Exactly. So in this case, if you wanted to just copy a basic file, you could do that with a copy item within here.
Cool.
Or something to that effect. But for this case, we'll just do a simple Chocolatey command. So we'll go ahead and Choco upgrade Google Chrome.
Great. Yeah, no. So the advanced steps, any PowerShell, for those PowerShell levers on this stream, that's a nice and easy way to be able to run your PowerShell too if you wanted to.
Exactly. And last down here, it'll ask me to select the target groups. Go ahead and select that all computers. We'll save that. Go ahead and save our deployment. Then we'll return out to our deployments view here. Then here, we'll go ahead and stage this or move it to ready. It'll give me a prompt saying, do you want to really do that? Yes. And then we'll go ahead and run this now.
Cool. So I'm prompting this to run right now. We had the ability in that previous panel, Ryan, to schedule as well, right? If I wanted to do it at a different time or a maintenance window.
Absolutely. You can go through and set a maintenance window for predefined times to run that deployment, as well as just giving it a scheduled time.
Cool. So this is kicked off now. So you got it running.
Yep.
So we could even view the.
We'll go ahead and view the details within here. We can see that it's already gone into active status. So it's moved from ready. It's gone ahead and said, yes, I do see this deployment and I'm working on it right now.
Cool. So what if I wanted to see what's going on my endpoint specifically? How would I see that from this view? Or was that another view here? So you click on the deployment step name, right? And then
you would click on the deployment step name within here.
Then scroll down to the bottom.
We can click actually on the view additional steps within here, and we can see that this is running that Choco upgrade, Google Chrome.
Awesome. So down, if you go to the bottom of this, Brian, I just want to show off this part here. Yeah, so there's my endpoint. There's the start time for this individual thing. So I'm waiting to see when it finishes. What else get there?
Correct. We'll go ahead up here and give it a quick refresh.
It's kind of funny because we have Chrome open right now.
That's true.
Oh, there we go.
We
got a success guide.
It was successful.
Cool. Do you want to refresh that one more time?
Yeah.
For me? I just want to see something here. If you scroll down to the bottom. Okay, cool. So we did get a success status. Awesome. Great. Yep. So the deployment step name individually, if you want to click on that deployment step for me, I just want to show off one piece here. If you scroll to the bottom of this individual deployment step, you also have that view log button there at the end that actually captures the Chocolatey log of that individual step.
Absolutely. So we can go ahead and see that the Chocolatey script that got invoked on the back end, or basically through the Choco.exe process on here, was Choco upgrade, Google Chrome, a -y confirmation. We go ahead and append a -y, no progress, and an execution timeout value within this by default, just to kind of go ahead and make sure you have an easy deployment.
Kind of the standard default args to make sure that this is fully seamless and non-interactive. Yeah, makes sense. Cool. So this is the log where if this log is pulled from the individual Chocolatey, so the individual Chocolatey agent on the endpoint will, from the local log, push up this individual step log into central management for us. So this is Chocolatey agent pushing up the log into central management. So in case we had a failure, we could always troubleshoot that as well from this console.
Correct. And oftentimes within support, the first thing we're going to ask for is logs. That's just kind of how everything runs. You can easily just export this log to a zip file, attach it to a support ticket, and we can go ahead and help you out and help you troubleshoot your issues if you have any. So we make it easy.
Nice. I like it. Very cool, sir. So you actually just upgraded Chrome using the deployments feature built right into here. That's pretty easy to do, pretty simple.
Exactly.
Right on. So just one thing to mention with that as well, Ryan. So if I had my endpoints being remote, like they're offline, right? Like let's say we're not offline, but not in the same subnet or in the wonderful pandemic work from home world that we have, and we have our internet enabled setup for QDE. We've set up our external IP, a fully qualified domain names, all that stuff. Then all of those endpoints, no matter where they are, what subnet, what VLAN, the agent on them would be checking into central management. And we could use central management as a mechanism of controlling what they do right on the endpoint, what the agent does on the endpoint.
Absolutely. As long as you have that communication between your client machine and the central management kind of hub, you can use this method.
And that's incoming communication, right? So that's ingress on TCP port 24020 that's coming into CCN. That's all you really need to allow there, right? For that communication to happen. Excellent. So when that's happening, how often is that happening that they're looking for a new deployment or the agents are checking in?
By default, I believe it's every half an hour.
To report their status. Yeah,
Yeah,
of
to
what
report their
packages they have.
status. And
So
then every 3 minutes, it checks for deployments, I believe.
perfect. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So every 3 minutes, avoiding thundering herd, not all of them connecting at the same time. They will check in to see if they have a new deployment. From here, pull down the code and run it locally. Okay, nice.
Yep.
Very cool.
All right, so those are the 3 main core pillars of QDE kind of set up and run.
So I have pretty much a fully functioning QDE setup here that we set up. We had up and running in just a few minutes, like about a half hour.
Exactly. The last part, we'll go ahead and go back to our README, is kind of our recommendation once you have everything up and running. We've gone ahead and used the defaults. We've changed some passwords. The one kind of thing we haven't changed, though, is our API key within Nexus. So this step 4, our recommended step, kind of goes ahead and walks us through that process.
Okay, yeah, because you don't want this API key to be known or in this plain text file. So generally, obviously, it's best practice to cycle that API key, to have a new API key, so you have it nice and secure.
Exactly.
Cool. So you're going to walk us through how to do that?
Yeah, we can go ahead and walk through how to do that. So we'll start out with Nexus. We'll go ahead up to our user here. That'll allow us to go over to our NuGet API key realm. We can go ahead and either access our API key to go ahead and look at it. It'll ask us to re-auth. We can see our current NuGet API key. I'll go ahead and reset that. We can see that that's been reset. A little bit of a mundane authentication chain, but we'll get her done. And we can see that that has changed from the default now. So we have a new API key.
Right on, right on. So you have a new API key. Excellent. So you've now secured your Nexus with a new NuGet API key. Now, I guess we still have to go and change this in all the places, right?
Correct. So I'll go ahead and, for my own sanity, just throw that in a file real quick.
Good
in case
call.
I need to reference it. We'll go back to our README. So the first thing we want to do is we actually want to change the API key that goes with our Chocolatey configured source within our repository.
And so you're just copying the command right out of the README.
Exactly. It'll prompt for our API key, so that's the only thing I'll have to change within this. So I'll go ahead and do this in ISC. We'll paste that command. Grab our API key that we just generated.
Cool. And you're just pasting that in there. Ryan, can you make this a little bit bigger?
Yeah.
Just the view zoom, I think.
Yeah.
Awesome. So an important thing you've done here, so you've added that API key, the new one that you generated, in the key parameter. And so that source parameter that you have defined for this command here, that's obviously using the default Choco server that you left because you have a self-signed one. Now, of course, if users generate their own fully qualified domain name or domain, like a different domain or a different host name for their server, then they would need to update that value, right?
Absolutely. You would just go through here and you might have, yourcorporation.net.com, something to that effect. That's where you would change this before the port number.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that for a second because sometimes folks will run this command and be like, it's very easy to just copy and paste those commands and then not think about the parameters you're pasting. But yeah, it pays to be mindful of that stuff. That's often where some folks fall down. So good to reference that.
Yep, I'll go ahead and run this command here. We'll see that Chocolatey says we'll updated our API key for this source.
Awesome.
So we are all good.
Right on. So do you want to show that working real quick? So if you wanted to, Ryan, you could take a package or not even executable, but just do it. You can close this out if you want.
Yeah.
And just in your PowerShell prompt, maybe just internalize a package real quick, and then we can see if we can push it up.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead in here. We'll
So just
do
run
a quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just
I'll
show
just do
absolutely, go ahead. Sorry,
a
interrupt.
quick.
Yeah.
I'll do a quick Choco download of let's say the VLC package.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and pass it the internalized flag in here. If I can spell it correctly.
Okay. So we forgot that. So run a Choco source for me real quick.
Yep.
Just to show this. This is a good thing to highlight. So folks, by default, the community repository is disabled because we say that all enterprise places, all enterprise organizations should use the Chocolatey repository, have it disabled by default. So people aren't just installing random packages in enterprise environments from the community repo. So that is the default behavior. Just in order to run these internalized commands, we can do that by just explicitly passing the source, correct?
Correct. So if I go ahead and key up to that command, we'll go ahead and give it the -s for source.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go ahead and manually give it an explicit source.
Right. So now it knows where to go to for that, even if it's disabled, because we've explicitly defined the source as an administrator. Now we can go ahead and pull that package. Excellent. There you go.
Correct.
Great. So if you do an II or invoke item, just to pop up a window, I think it's dot. Yeah. Sorry. I'm just saying open up Explorer where you are there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's fine.
Actually, we'll just go ahead and
see
users.
Perfect.
And download.
So if we go up actually to
Yeah.
administrator folder, just where that is, scroll down and you'll see you have your packages there.
Yep.
One folder up. Yeah. So we can now just double click these or right click and upload push them, right?
Yep. Exactly. So we'll go ahead and select our Chocolatey internal source. We can see that it already has the API key associated with that source from our Chocolatey config.
So that's an important point. That little red you saw initially, people get afraid when they don't see anything there. Just drop down and pick your source, right?
Yep.
And then it should be good.
Be able to upload this.
Here we go. Moment of truth. Ta-da.
Successfully completed.
Sweet. So now we should have up. Now with your new Nexus API key, your NuGet API key that you defined, now you've pushed up a package. Let's take a look at your Nexus repo and see if it's up there.
Sure thing.
I mean, I believe you, but
exactly.
There we go.
No smoke and mirrors here.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Great. Wow. So now you've really shown us all the different bits and pieces of this, Ryan. So now we've got a fully set up with our own self-signed certificates, QDE set up with a Nexus NuGet repository, with Chocolatey central management set up, and with Jenkins to auto internalize our package. So all the different pieces are working together seamlessly.
Absolutely.
Very
cool.
So
the last thing that we would have to do, since we did go ahead and change our API key, is we have to go ahead and give that new API key into the different Nexus jobs that reference it.
The Jenkins jobs?
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's good. Wow. Okay, thank you for reminding me because I would have forgotten that. That's an important
It's all
point.
good.
Yeah.
So if we click into our jobs here, we'll go over to configure.
So obviously, because all of these auto internalizing steps are using your NuGet repository, your Nexus repository, then you do need to update it when you update the API. Then that changes on all these processes. Yeah.
Exactly. So as we can see here, it references our API key. I'll go ahead and grab that once again. Go ahead and change this password out.
Okay, there you go.
Exactly. We'd have to go through for the rest of them as well. If they do have, we can do that real quick.
Okay.
There. Go out, check our last one. All right, and then all of our jobs have been updated with that API key.
Awesome. Awesome. So now we got a fully functioning API key reset QDE environment.
Yep. Those are all the steps needed to do that step.
Very
and then
cool.
Literally,
Ryan.
that is the end of our guide. Literally, it's just if you want to roll it, go ahead, test it out, test deployments, license the VM if you plan to keep it around, and off to the races.
Right on. So you've got everything fully functioning. Now, one thing quickly, Ryan, if you could highlight for me, if you could open up Windows Explorer, you can close out the windows here for the browser. We don't need this anymore. And if you just highlight for me, if you open up Windows Explorer and just go to that Choco setup files directory, or is it scripts? I'm not sure. Let's take a look.
Yeah. So we'll go to Choco setup files.
And so in here, generally when we're running, when we have this all set up now and it's ready to go, for the individual endpoints, when you're having them check in to Chocolatey Central Management, what would I run on those endpoints in order to get them checking into my QDE server, my CCM, if you will?
Usually you would just deploy out this client setup script that we conveniently give you. It's also automatically in your raw repository within Nexus as well.
Oh, okay. So I could just hit that. Like I could just look at that from by default. Okay, so I mean, maybe it would be useful just to pull up our docs for a second to show the line where we specifically mention client setup, because this is important for folks.
Absolutely.
So while Ryan's doing this, I'll just highlight that docs.chocolatey.org, it should be your first stop. It should be where you're following through all these instructions as well. And we have a nice search built in the top with Algolia search. So it's very fast and easy to find. So if you do a client setup for QDE specifically, then there you go. Yep, Brian went right to it. So of course, did mention a couple of things about DNS and making sure your SSL certificates are correct if you need them. And then, so if you're just using that default step down there, importing the self-signed certificate from the QDE server, you can just do that with that step there on an endpoint.
That's the big thing, is you want to import your certificate by default. When you go ahead and create CCM, we go ahead and have this script hosted on port 80 of the QDE instance. So you can go ahead and easily pull down that self-signed cert if you're going ahead and using that.
If you're using a self-signed one. Of course, if you have an external one, then it's already being trusted by your endpoints.
Exactly.
Another point worth mentioning on both of these is, in both of these copy-pasted scripts, like these are just, you can copy and paste them in your console. The one thing to remember is the invoke expression that you're doing, that URL value, make sure that your URL is actually the URL for your server. Don't just copy paste that if you change that fully qualified domain name or anything.
Exactly.
And so that second run client setup.ps1 is just saying, hey, use the raw repository that's already set up on this server. Just pull down the client setup script and run it there.
Exactly.
Okay, nice and easy. Okay, so I just copy and paste these two things. I'll make sure my URL is correct for my repository, and I should be good to go.
Yep. And then there's one other thing I'd actually like to demonstrate along kind of the customer journey, if we could.
Sure, absolutely.
So I've gone ahead and set up, QDE. I have it running. Great. It says I'm on a business trial. I believe my other license is also a business trial, but I have a newer one. So let's kind of say, hey, I've gone ahead and purchased and I have a new license from Chocolatey now.
Yeah, whether that's a trial extension or whether it's, let's say you purchased a license and now you have a full license, like a full production license. Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So conveniently, I have a second license available to me here. So the steps to go through and do that would be, I'll go ahead and copy that out. I'll go to that same C program data, Chocolatey license folder. I'll go ahead and paste in my text file.
Okay, and this is your new license. Excellent.
Correct. This is my new license. This is my current license. I don't need this one anymore, so I'll go ahead and delete it out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go in like I did before on the other one and rename it. So.
Right, so it just has to have that same naming format, chocolatey.license.xml.
Exactly. So now have this new license in here.
Okay, so now your QDE server has your new license. So your QDE server is licensed with your full production license now. Excellent. So now,
Correct.
Now I guess, of course, we need to get this license out to your endpoints too, right?
Yes. We make that really easy for you. So
okay,
we'll go back into the Choco setup files directory. We'll go ahead and run this create license package. It'll go ahead and ask me for my API key. Conveniently, again, I just have it right here.
mm-hmm. And again, you can do this from a PowerShell prompt too. You can click and run with PowerShell or already have it open. And when you do it from a PowerShell prompt, you can also pass in these parameters explicitly
Correct.
if you want. Yeah.
We'll see this goes ahead and creates a new Chocolatey license package with my new expiration date as the version for this package.
Mm-hmm. And
Goes
there
ahead
you
and
go.
pushes it up.
Wow. Okay, so it generated a package and also pushed it up into my Nexus repo for me. So let's go take a look at your Nexus repo and see the new package, the license package. Yep. So good point to note there as well, that script gets updated automatically if you set a fully qualified domain name and you run the setQD environment script in the beginning, it will reset it to the URL and the fully qualified domain name of your repo for you.
Yep.
Cool.
And we can see that was my original one and that is my newer one. Yeah,
so that version, that semantic version that it looks like it's showing there is actually just the expiry date of your license, right?
Yep.
Exactly. So that's nice and easy way to see visually that, yeah, you have that new license in there. So you can go ahead and install that. So if somebody did a Choco upgrade Chocolatey license now on any of the endpoints, if you did this on your endpoints, or if you ran a Choco upgrade command from a CCM deployment, let's say even, right? Then by default, Chocolatey will always install the newest package available, correct?
Correct.
So that'll be just a simple CCM deployment upgrade, let's say, to upgrade that license everywhere.
Exactly. Since we've gone ahead and created a Chocolatey package for that XML file, it's as easy as just going ahead and deploying it like any other Chocolatey package within your environment.
Very cool. Very cool, Ryan. Wow. You really made all this easy for us.
Yep.
Awesome. So go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that's most of what I had.
Mm-hmm. Well, you pretty much covered everything. So I'd say most is an understatement. I think pretty much everything is there. Let's just see if we have a couple of things here. So I'm going to pull in and see if our chat has any additional stuff in there. Any questions for us before we sign off? There was one. Hey, by the way, Windows NZ, Josh King, hi, good to see you. Connecting with us, one of our colleagues all the way from New Zealand is staying up just to hang out on the stream. So we appreciate that. So with respect to that movement from test to prod, this is a heavy hand, by the way, who's talking about Jenkins, I believe. So with respect to the movement from test to prod, so I'm assuming that's the automation that, the script that will push from test to prod. Is there a way to query Jenkins for time ingested or some other metric to move those items? I'm sure you could do that. It's not by default built into the script. You can, I think Jenkins has ways to plug in, similar to how everything else has an API. Jenkins has a way to plug in and see different values for it if you wanted to. It's an integration that's not built in by default. You could, of course, add additional lines to your PowerShell script, or connect to Jenkins in different programmatic ways, API style, if you wanted to. But not by default, it's not written into there. But yes, that's a good question. You could definitely add additional details there if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
By default, those scripts are meant to be run non-interactively and just in the background. And we have talked about maybe exposing those in a dashboard in the future to make it easier for you to do. But Jenkins can be a little bit of a bear sometimes when you're working through it, in terms of if everything works perfectly and fine, like we saw, we've tried to pre-create and pre-populate a bunch of it for you to make it simple. There are a lot of parameters and a lot of different ways you can build pipelines in Jenkins. So it can quickly get to a point where it may overwhelm you, but not to worry. The basic stuff is already up there for you from our side. And if you wanted to expand on it, the good news is there's plenty of functionality there in Jenkins to do so. Cool. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any more questions there, and we've gone over our hour just a little bit. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm just going to hop over and take the screen control back, Ryan, if that's cool. Yep. And just go through the last little bits of it here. So thanks for tuning in, folks. I just wanted to give you a couple of links that we provided just for you to be able to follow up on your own time. So that create license package script that we mentioned, of course, that's in the docs already in the organizational setup. So you can look at it there. But if you wanted to look at it in a gist format, it's up as a GitHub gist at ch0.co/create license. That version of the script will also mandatory prompt for your Nexus API key, as well as your URL for your repository, just to make it easy for folks who are just saving and running that. It's a nice way to be able to actually just have that available to you. The Chocolatey for Business features videos. This is just ch0.co/c4b videos. So all the different features that you have that we have available in the Chocolatey for Business license, including package builder, internalizer, package synchronization, CCM. A lot of the stuff we showed off today are all Chocolatey for Business features that you can look to that feature video series for more information. The QDE setup. So our wonderful lead architect, Gary Owenpark, and lover of Iron Brew, has put up a set of videos for QDE setup, where he walks through the details of how to set up QDE. So a lot of what Ryan showed off today, he does a little bit of a deep dive. They're little 5-minute videos for each section. So it's up there and available for you to view. So that's at ch0.co/QDE-videos. As well, Gary also has hosted the Chocolatey in the Organization playlist on YouTube. And so the Chocolatey org playlist actually walks through if you're setting up Chocolatey from scratch and you actually aren't using QDE, you have other security limitations maybe in your environment where you need to stand up your own explicit set of servers where you're defining them, then now you have the ability to set up from scratch, set up your own VMs and configure as you like. So that's available at ch0.co/org. Gary walks you through that in a beautiful manner. And of course, if you're interested in becoming a C4B customer, you can always reach out at sales@chocolatey.io, or just go to chocolatey.org on our website and fill out some of those forms, and we'd be happy to reach out to you. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you for your time. Thanks for tuning in. Again, we do this Twitch stream on the first Thursday of every month. So happy to see you guys here at this similar time, guys and gals. We also wanted to say that we did have it be about an hour earlier this time. We may generally stick to that, just to be able to have enough folks be able to tune in from different time zones. Time zones are a thing, unfortunately, still, and we want our Europe folks and everybody else to, and the Asia folks to be able to tune in as well. So we want to make it as easy as possible. So we may be moving this up an hour, just a heads up, just to accommodate for that. So this same time will work. Same bat time, same bat channel, as they say. So the first Thursday of the month, and tune in here for us. So we try and have new content for you every month with questions that you have placed for us or new features that we're launching. Stay tuned, because we will be coming out with some new stuff probably next month for Easter egg little teaser here for the Intune setup stuff. So the Intune integration that we're doing is coming. That's hotly anticipated for sure. So, but with that, I want to thank you all for your time, and I want to thank Ryan. Ryan, thank you so much for being on the stream with us.
Thanks for having me. This has been a blast.
And with that, I'll bid you folks adieu. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye now.
Bye.